morning and welcome to another episode of Voices of the Community. My name is Dr. Jim Bostic and I am the weekly host of this show that talks about issues that impact our community. Today we have a continuation of the series we started last week talking about the demise of our young men and what is happening to them. Joining us again from that segment was Mr. Frank Williams, the Executive Director of the White Plains Youth Bureau. Many call him the mayor of the city
Bless
of
your
White
heart.
Plains.
Bless you.
And also, very close by in the town of Greenburgh, the Commissioner, Bill Carter of Theodore E. Young Community Center. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you very much, Dr. Boston.
These two brothers, along with myself, first of all, we're very good friends, and we have all, I think, committed our lives to empowering families, particularly our children, and providing them or trying to provide them with the necessary ingredients to become successful. Sometimes I wonder how successful we've been when we look at the statistics, when we look at the number of young children, particularly our males of color, that are dropping out of schools, that are being arrested, that are succumbing to the temptations of drugs, that are joining these street gangs all over our community, and it's a national epidemic, but obviously we're talking from a local perspective. Bill, I mean, you've been doing this for a while, and as I mean, you were once with the Westchester County Youth Bureau, and you were providing agencies like the White Plains Youth Bureau as well as Neppahan Community Center with funding, and now you are the Chief Executive Officer of Theodore E. Young Community Center. What's your take? I mean, last week, you know, Frank and I kind of elaborated on some of our thoughts, but what's your take on what you see happening, particularly to our young men of color?
Thank you. First of all, it's great to be here and being privy to the show that you and Frank did last week and just piggybacking on some of the things you guys had to say. And having a little bit of time to think about it and to digest it. I think in our community, in some ways, Jim, we're waiting for somebody to ride in on a white horse and save us. And something you and Frank touched on that is very important is we're responsible for what's going on in our community. Okay, there's a lot of sociological factors that impact us: poverty, racism, low expectations, and all those things. Those are things we can't control. But there's things in our community that we can control to stop this stem and stop this flow. I just came down Warburton Avenue. I came down Warburton Avenue a few minutes ago to come here. And on 4 different occasions, I saw groups of young men on the streets on a Friday at 9:45 in the morning. And I'm wondering, what school are they supposed to be in? And who is responsible for telling these young men that they should be in school? Why are they traveling in packs at 9:45 in the morning on the streets? And I could tell they was of school age.
Sure.
And you know, it bothered me. And I know that everybody's busy. You know, the economy has changed. And as you and Frank talked about last week, there's usually only one parent in the household. Unfortunately, many times it's a woman. But there needs to be somebody to hold these young people responsible. When you're not in school, when you're not doing something positive, you fall prey to the negative. And the negative, the gangs, the violence, the quick money, it can be so seductive. It can be so seductive in the short term. But we need, as brothers and as people of faith and as leaders in our community, we need to be there to say, young man, you need to go to school. Young man, you don't need to be on the streets, because if something good is going to happen for these young people, it's going to be in the schools. And yes, we do need to improve our schools, without a doubt. You know, I'm not a conspiratorial brother, but I don't believe it's no accident that our young men are filling up prisons. I don't believe it's no accident. I believe that it's an economical reality that our young men are worth more to this state and to this country in prison than they are out here in the streets making minimum wages.
Well, there's a lot of schools of thought where that's concerned, and one of the things that, I've heard, and I know we've all heard over and over again, is that they start building prisons based on fourth grade test results. That they have been able to make a determination that so many of the young people who are failing at the fourth grade level are young men who will ultimately find their way into the correctional facilities, and so they begin to project that, and they begin to build prisons based on that. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that reality probably do exist as people forecast, employment and looking at cities and towns in terms of what the future is going to hold. But to go back to what Bill just said, just seeing young men on the street, that is the reality. And so the issue becomes, what are we going to do about it? I just believe that all of us, we have to be intentional, purposeful, and we have to make sure that young people start out life being hungry to learn, wanting to learn, having an appetite to come to school ready to learn. A few years ago in White Plains, we did a program called Saving Our Sons. And we realized that when we were working with these young people, it was already too late. They were caught up in conflict and in issues and the madness that goes on in our community. And so we took a step back. And we started a program called White Plains Reads. And what we wanted to do is to make sure that every child coming to school with some literacy skills, because if a child can read, he or she will be able to have a sense of education has value and has purpose. And so last year we gave out more than 20,000 books to children, low-income kids in White Plains, and after-school centers. We put books in churches. We gave parents books. We put books in community centers, because we know that if we're going to keep kids out of harm's way, we can't wait until they get to be 14, 15, and 16. It's already too late, because children have already dropped out of school and dropped out of life. So we need to. I believe we need to the 100 African American men, the Westchester men of the Westchester African American men of Westchester, the sororities, the fraternities, the houses of worship. We all have to step up. We all have to see that we've come so very far and we have so far to go. But we have to be committed in this war that we're facing. We're at war, and Bill is right. Our children are killing each other. They're taking on this culture of the easy money, the quick money, and we know that is a recipe for failure. And the outcome of this is this prison pipeline that we see.
It's not all doom. I mean,
No, not at all.
You guys are doing incredible things in each of your respective realms of authority. And people need to know that there are great things that are happening that can begin to make a difference in the lives of these young people. So I'd like to just take a moment, and before we really delve into the juvenile justice issue, is to talk about some of the things that you guys are doing up at Greenberg, Bill, that addresses this issue at your facility, and Frank do the same, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the things we're doing here at the Nepahad Community Center, and then we'll talk about more into this issue about the juvenile justice system.
We're at the Theodore Young Community Center. We, like Brother Williams over here, recognize the importance of education. So many of our programs now is based on education. We have a very strong SAT prep program. It's not a homework help program. Unfortunately, in this society, you have to be able to take a test. And we have a program designed to address education issues for not only the child, but for the family. Yeah. We have workshops for parents on how to save for college. We have workshops on parents on how to prepare for college. We have workshops for parents on how to recognize predatory agents and things like that, who, if you have a kid who may be talented in some sort of sports like lacrosse or basketball, how to keep them away from those people who will prey on them. We try to make sure that people understand that AAU isn't an end-all, be-all. That yes, it's nice to play AAU basketball, but it's better for you to get 16 to 18 to 2,000 on your SAT. That will ensure you go to college better than you playing AAU basketball. So we have some really good workshops for parents that address those many and multiple issues. In addition, again, like Frank said, we are in the process of putting together programs that address the science, the technology, looking at helping young people become engineers, math, things like that, ensuring we do college tours. Right now we do historically black college tours to historically black colleges, many times just to expose children to things other than WCC. Sure. And to let them see, in many cases, people that look like us running an institution and in charge, and what's happening in the world outside. Because if you can't aspire, if you can't see it, you can't aspire to it. I'm a true believer, Jim. And unfortunately, our media portrays only those guided young individuals who are doing bad things in our community, when in truth be told, and as a college professor, I can state this unequivocally, the truth be told, most of our children are doing the right thing.
Sure.
Most of our children are doing the right thing. I have many young African American and Latino males in my class. And unfortunately, once they experience me, they experience, because I am probably harder on them than I am other people. But that's who I am, because I am more, but the media portrays, and if they see that there's no hope, I believe that they feel there is no hope. We also provide opportunities for employment training, linkages to positive male role models. We have a very demanding culture that you don't come into our place with your pants hanging out off your behind. Because like you guys talked about last week, they don't hear that at home. They don't hear that at home. Those are some of the things we believe, and we start early. We start with after-school program. We start validating young men and young women early, that they're important, that they have value. And I'm a true believer that you have to do that. Like Frank talked about his program, by the time they're 14, 15, 16, it's too late. Yeah. You have to make them know and believe that they not only have value in their home, but in the broader world where they're going to be operating. And we do that. We intentionally, and we intentionally do that to make sure that young people know that they have value, and we're demanding that they step up and they're accountable for not only their actions, but who they are. And we also have opportunities for community service, which I believe is one of the most powerful tools we can have in linking a young person to their community. Because the data clearly show that a young person who is attached to their community and believe in their community won't do activities to tear down their community. Sure. So, those are some of the things that we are intentionally doing to try to help young people at the Theodore D. Young Community Center.
And to build on it, I just remember a quote that Jackie Robinson said. And Jackie Robinson said that life has no meaning unless it impacts somebody else, which means that we, all of us, every human being, is called to do some good works, to help somebody. And so we know what the issues are. The issues, again, is to invest our time, our talents into strengthening and building of our communities, and specifically for young black men. Sure. You're young black. We as a community, even as a nation, have to commit to say that we're not going to send our children to prison. We're going to send them to college. We have to commit to say that our centers are going to be oases of care, are going to be places of love and nurturing and development. And every child that we see, especially young Black and Latino children, we need to surround them with caring adults. The data is very clear. Children, as Bill said, children who are attached to community agencies, community programs, and to positive role models
And
are
faith-based
and faith-based,
institutions.
right? They're far more likely to be successful than children who don't have those kinds of supportive, caring entities. And so in White Plains, we have a lot of things going on. I'm a firm believer in Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and mentoring programs, because I know in my own life growing up down south, I had a whole community of Big Brothers and Big Sisters and people who cared about me. So I believe that we all have to be a part, attached to children's lives. A couple of other programs that we have, for more than 20 years, we've run Saturday school programs for kids. I just believe that kids need to be learning on Saturday, right, as opposed to being at home watching TV or watching cartoons or on the computer. We need to make sure that they have math and, as what Bill said, math and science skills as well. We have a program for parents we're running on Thursday evenings. We're trying to help parents to become better parents. Because, you know, for many of our parents, they just didn't get the kind of parenting skills and help that they needed to be successful. And so we got to stand in the gap to make sure that if a parent has an issue in terms of how to raise that child, that daughter, how to find resources, we need to stand in the gap so that that parent doesn't feel like he or she is alone. So we got to work both with the parents and we got to work with the children to make sure that they have the opportunities they need to be successful.
Much like, thank you guys, and I do want to applaud, you know, you hear so much from people in the community, there ain't nothing to do, and nowhere, where should I send my kids? Well, here's an example of two communities where there's a tremendous amount up in the Greenberg area and the White Plains area, where there are a lot of positive youth development programs going on, but parents have to take the initiative to get their children enrolled in these programs. And you as a parent cannot accept from your child, I don't want to go there, I don't want to do that, because that's where the self-destruction begins. When you begin to give, we had in my household, I had no choices.
That's right.
Until I left on an airplane going to Las Cruces, New Mexico, going to college. At that point, I had choices because they were 2,200 miles away. As long as I lived in their house, I had no choices up to that point. So they told me what I was to do and where I was to go and what I was to be involved in. And that kept me safe. It kept me from the seduction of the street and all those negative influences that our kids succumb to these days. Here at Nepperhan Community Center, much like you guys, our whole mission is very simple, to empower children and families. We believe that if we give children and families the necessary ingredients to become successful, they can become self-sufficient and productive citizens. So we do it in a number of ways. You know, we're a leader in this part of the county in providing after-school programs. Our Gateway Academies are in multiple sites here in the city of Yonkers, and we offer students a menu of different types of activities that's prefaced by academic support services, SAT prep, college and career services. We believe that